It's one of the most recognizable brands on the internet today. A flashy, brightly colored sports drink plastered across supermarkets, gas stations, and even school lunchrooms. Prime wasn't just a beverage, it was a cultural phenomenon. Backed by two of the internet's biggest stars, it became the drink that every kid wanted to be seen holding. The logo that dominated UFC events, soccer stadiums, and viral TikToks. In just months, it went from a brand new startup to a billion-dollar empire. But as quickly as Prime shot to the top, the cracks began to show. What started as a dream product for fans turned into a lightning rod for criticism. Parents accused it of endangering kids. Regulators began looking closer, and entire schools went so far as to ban it completely. The drink that symbolized internet dominance was suddenly being dragged into controversy after controversy, and it all traced back to the very people who built it up in the first place. And just like so many internet empires before, Prime's story proves that the higher something rises, the harder it falls. The wildest part is that none of this was supposed to happen. When Logan Paul and KSI first announced Prime in early 2022, the internet erupted. Two of the biggest rivals in YouTube history had suddenly turned business partners, launching what they claimed would be the sports drink of a new generation. They weren't just creating a product, they were creating a lifestyle. Prime wasn't marketed like a beverage, it was marketed like a movement. Bright neon bottles, edgy branding, celebrity endorsements, and a constant stream of content made it feel like something much bigger than hydration. For kids, drinking Prime wasn't about taste, it was about status. In its first year alone, Prime was outselling industry titans like Gatorade in certain markets. Logan and KSI boasted about selling out entire truckloads in minutes, while videos of fans fighting over bottles in grocery stores went viral. Scarcity drove demand through the roof, and suddenly, every gas station clerk was a gatekeeper to what felt like gold. Logan even claimed Prime hit over $1 billion in sales within its first year, a number that stunned critics and cemented Prime as a legitimate force. But the insane success also created insane expectations. When you market something directly to kids, when you turn a drink into the hottest status symbol on TikTok, you're not just competing with other beverages, you're competing with parents, teachers, and regulators. And that's where the problems began. Parents started to realize that Prime wasn't just a harmless sports drink. The company had also launched Prime Energy, a version with a caffeine level far above what many kids could safely consume. A single can contained 200 milligrams of caffeine, more than 2 Red Bulls, all packaged in a sleek can with bright colors that looked almost identical to the caffeine-free version. Schools began reporting that kids were showing up jittery, anxious, and in some cases, sick from drinking multiple cans in a single day. The backlash spread so quickly that Prime Energy was outright banned from many school campuses across the US, UK, and Australia. What had been marketed as a fun, youthful brand was now being accused of endangering the very audience that made it popular. Logan and KSI tried to separate Prime Energy from Prime Hydration, constantly repeating that the energy version was meant for adults, not kids. But by then, the damage was done. Parents weren't buying the excuses, and critics were already pointing out how the packaging seemed intentionally confusing. Prime had built its empire by appealing to kids, and now that very strategy was turning against them. At the same time, new accusations started piling up. Some consumers claimed the drink's health benefits were exaggerated, with experts pointing out that Prime contained artificial sweeteners, additives, and in some cases, less electrolytes than its competitors. Others argued that the scarcity model, the idea of hyping up Prime as this rare, collectible product, had gone too far. Videos circulated of scalpers reselling bottles for 5 times their retail price, and parents complained that their kids were being pressured into spending absurd amounts of money just to keep up. The once feel-good narrative of Prime being a revolutionary underdog started looking more like a textbook example of marketing manipulation. But the biggest blow to Prime's image didn't come from parents, schools, or regulators. It came from the internet itself. The same platforms that built Prime's empire turned on it almost overnight. Videos mocking Logan and KSI's over-the-top promotions began racking up millions of views. Influencers started comparing Prime to cheaper alternatives and calling it overrated. And perhaps worst of all, the drink became a meme. People started posting skits about Prime tasting like flavored plastic, or exaggerating its side effects for laughs. Once your product becomes a punchline, it's nearly impossible to maintain that aura of hype. Logan and KSI doubled down, securing massive partnerships with the UFC and Arsenal Football Club, hoping to keep Prime in the spotlight. But even these wins felt hollow compared to the mounting backlash. Critics argued that the UFC deal, which plastered Prime branding all over octagons and fighter weigh-ins, only pushed the drink further into the hands of kids who idolized athletes. The more they tried to expand, the more it felt like Prime was being overexposed. And for a brand built on hype, overexposure is deadly. By late 2023, Prime's reputation had shifted dramatically. What was once the coolest drink in the world was now under investigation, banned in schools, and mocked online. Sales were still strong, but the cultural energy that had fueled its explosive growth was fading fast. Logan Paul, who had once paraded Prime as his redemption arc after years of controversy, suddenly found himself back where he started, being seen as manipulative, careless, and out of touch. And KSI, who had largely avoided major backlash in the past, wasn't immune either. His association with Prime tied him directly to the criticism, and for the first time, his reputation took a noticeable hit. Fans began questioning whether the two had built something sustainable, or if Prime was destined to be remembered as just another internet fad that burned too hot, too fast. In the end, Prime's story isn't just about a drink. It's about the power of internet hype and the cost of chasing it. Logan Paul and KSI created a product that symbolized internet dominance, one that turned millions of kids into walking billboards and generated sales numbers that rivaled entire corporations. But in doing so, they also built something fragile, something that couldn't withstand real-world scrutiny. Prime was marketed as a revolution, but if history has shown us anything, it's that revolutions often eat themselves alive.